This strategy game is about humans on some desolate planet, where their goal is to make this planet habitable, so they need to make necessary structures to make it possible. I like the tutorial and how developer makes sure that player understand what he had to do, like here for example one of first buildings are to make water cleaning plant. So this is added to task list and I had to build them in the order to progress further in game. This way developer ensures that player goes through all the important stuff. Building trees are quite complicated, but there is extensive explanations about buildings in game, so that is very good. I like here explanation, for example, about how to obtain water. It is explained why you need it, how to predict weather and how to obtain it. Every time when I progressed forward in game there was quite a lot of backstory of what about the game is and what these settlers are trying to achieve. There was one particular place where I stuck. I had to complete social district and reach required number of score, but I had messed up with right building placement, so for me it wasn't possible to reach it. At the end I just restarted the game and at this time I knew where I messed up. Afterwards I built the research center where I can research new buildings, and after that there was new option to send citizens to research missions. At one point I had to assemble a research team for a trip to unknown cave to research some sort of phenomenon. It was interesting and at the same time quite disturbing. I will read it for you. In the bed of what must once have been a fierce torrent, the explorers follow the light signal they spotted from the city. It leads all the way down to cavern's mouth. While not imposing, something about the cavern provokes mixed feelings of suspicion and curiosity. The cold air emanating from it is attractive for thirsty travelers, but reminds the omen of particular strangeness. Crossing the cavern's narrow threshold, the explorer's spot stops sharply when they find themselves faced with rectangular dais. The cracks on each of its sides light up in an irregular fashion, a chaotic blinking that the explorers can't begin to rationalize. Stranger still, the rays of light seem to persist in the air for a few moments, even with no dust or other surface to refract them. These pieces of ethereal color exude a glacial temperature when touched with one's hand. This extraordinary phenomenon forces its way even through a closed door. What would happen if it was opened? Whatever may be contained behind these days is bound to be volatile and dangerous, but the explorers are torn. After all, given the town's climatic conditions, it's impossible to put a price on a potential cooling device. What's more, this pragmatic argument conceals a curiosity that would win the day on its own. No one here wants to leave before formulating a hypothesis on this phenomenon. By using levers and improvised wheels to move the dice, the explorers succeed in clearing the way. As the remarkably thick stone leaves its slot, the antechamber fills with cold air, and strings of light rest weightlessly around the explorers' heads, their colors shifting so quickly that every person's eyes can only perceive a blinding whiteness. The ray's origins quickly became obvious. A spherical space at the center of cavern, which is otherwise in complete darkness, emits its own internal light. The explorers initially assumed this to be a kind of lantern imbued with mechanical function and palpable physical form, but there's no touching this globe. Just as with the rays, its image persists in the air through some untold phenomenon. It's difficult to look at it, and harder still to comprehend what it depicts. The explorer's eyes grow red with the effort, and yet they can't tear their eyes away. Outside, a vigil awaits his teammates' return. He will wait half the night before deciding to abandon his post and running to meet his brethren. Neither he nor his friends will leave the cavern. So after that was explanation about that you just lost your whole research team and that in this game are risks to take and those can be costly. And this is basically where the game ends. So my final thoughts, what I think about this game. I will be honest that I'm not into this type of strategy city builder games. So I just was losing my attention, but what I liked was good tutorial and the amount of information is implemented into game, the story, the choices to make, etc. For me, it lacked more stuff on actual map. It was pretty empty besides the resources. I would like some stuff what would make it more interesting from that point of view. Maybe art style was not right for me, but then again it is about the harsh planet to colonize and that is the part of that vibe.